Okay, today we're talking about a toilet. We're talking about a toilet with see through glass walls, a transparent public restroom in a public park in central Tokyo. But first, let me have some coffee. It's still pretty early. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, we're back talking about creative and technology. And yes, we're talking about this structure here. This is a public toilet in a public park in Tokyo, Japan. The walls are all glass. You can see into it. You can see everything right through it. It's in a park called Yoyogi Park, which, if you're familiar with Tokyo at all, it's next to the Shibuya neighborhood, a popular nightlife and shopping destination, a major transit hub. Shibuya Crossing is there, that famous intersection where thousands of people cross at the same time in all different directions. And this is a see-through public restroom, kinda. Here's the thing: the glass used in this structure is using an interesting technology whereby when you go inside the restroom and close the door, lock it, the glass turns opaque and you can no longer see through it. It's no longer transparent and provides all the privacy anyone might need or want. That technology is new-ish, or it seems new, really. It's actually old. It's been around for quite a long time, several decades, in fact. We'll get more into that later. But the technology is called smart glass. It also goes by some other names: switchable glass, dynamic glass, and the actual effect can be created using several different techniques. There's not just one way to do it. But the architect behind this building is someone who's really interesting. He's a 2014 Pritzker Prize winning architect from Japan named Shigeru Ban. And we've been familiar with his work, kind of following it casually over the past 25 years. But Shigeru Ban is famous for using lots of non-traditional, innovative materials in his architecture, and using these materials as expressive elements in his architecture as part of the aesthetic itself of the building. So these are things like paper, cardboard tubes, most famously shipping containers, and now with this recently unveiled building, this smart glass. And you may have seen this in the news. It's been getting a lot of buzz lately. It's part of a really interesting project in Tokyo called the Tokyo Toilet Project. Yes. And the project involves creating dozens of public restrooms throughout the Japanese capital. So basically, they selected several dozen architects, gave them the same brief to design a public restroom. And if you go to the website, which you'll find a link down below, which is, I think, tokyotoiletproject.com or the tokyotoiletproject.com, you'll find it. Search, look at the link. You'll see all the different designs, and it's really interesting to see all the different interpretations of the same brief or same set of instructions that each of these architects came up with. But Shigeru Ban's by far is the one that's been getting a lot of the attention because of this see-through glass, and it is quite striking. It's also just a beautiful building, especially at night when it's illuminated. It's really quite stunning. But anyway, Shigeru Ban, most famously using innovative materials and shipping containers is probably his biggest claim to fame. If you've seen a house made of shipping containers or a pop-up store made of shipping containers, you can probably thank Shigeru Ban. He may not have designed that one or been involved with that, but he probably provided the inspiration or showed the possibilities. Going back almost 25 years ago, he started thinking of using shipping containers because they could be used as prefabricated building blocks. They could be repurposed and recycled as major components of large structures. Now, he may not have been the first person to think, hey, maybe we could use a shipping container as a shelter or as a basic architectural structure, but he was really the pioneer in envisioning how to use these for large-scale projects, for massive structures. Back in 2006, we had the chance to actually visit one of his buildings, and we had read about him already for years by then. And when we heard about this project he was doing in New York City, we were very excited. It was basically a temporary museum, a massive structure, the length of a pier sticking out over the Hudson River. It was called the Nomadic Museum, and the entire structure was built with shipping containers. And the thing is, it's when you see the building, you can see that it's made of shipping containers. It's not like the shipping containers are some interior part that are the foundational structural parts of the building and then covered up with like stucco or plaster or any external decoration. They're plain. And that's part of the point of his unique style. And so again, he really had the vision and showed people how you could do this, and it really inspired a lot of people and brought the idea of using shipping containers into the mainstream. So that nomadic museum, by the way, if you're interested, it housed an exhibition by this Canadian artist named Gregory Colbert that was very cool. So I went, and seeing this thing up close, it was really quite stunning. It was amazing. It was there temporarily. I think they dismantled it and then took it on tour. So I think it was in Tokyo for a while, and then in Los Angeles, in the Santa Monica area of Los Angeles, and I think Mexico City, maybe one other city. But it basically toured around. So the structure also proved that you could create temporary structures relatively easily, put them together, dismantle them, and ship them. So again, pioneering, visionary architect Shigeru Ban, coming up with the idea of using shipping containers, but also bringing his own aesthetic sensibilities to the project. With this toilet in Tokyo, again, he's now experimenting with this glass. And the technology, like I said before, it's not new. It's been around for decades. Basically, in the 1980s, there was this Swedish material physicist who came up with the smart glass, the technology. And he was working with some scientists. I think it was at the UC Berkeley, Lawrence Livermore, or Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories in California. And the result was this product, this glass, but it didn't really take off commercially until probably the 90s. And even then, it was very rare to see it used in any sort of practical way. However, my first experience encountering it was almost exactly 25 years ago, when I was a very young person in Osaka, Japan. So I went to this club to go see a band play, and it was a new venue. And it was just like a small club, maybe the kind of place that holds 300, 400 people at most. And when I went to the restroom, I saw this bank of doors basically that were glass, and you could see inside, and you could see each one was an individual toilet stall, and you could see everything. And I was like, whoa. But I quickly sussed out, and someone explained to me that when you close the door, it turns opaque. And I actually saw this happen. And then when I went and used the restroom, it worked. But the whole time I was kind of thinking, is this the kind of thing where I can see out, or people can't see in, but I can see out, or vice versa? Is it really private? So it really gets you thinking. But it was cool to see it. I had not seen it used anywhere else. That was my first time seeing this smart glass technology being used. And oddly enough, also in a restroom. But in that case, it was indoors. It was in a private establishment. And it was just the front door to the stall. But fast forward about 10, 11 years later, I'm in New York City working at a global advertising agency in downtown Manhattan. They had just renovated their offices, and all of their conference rooms had these glass floor-to-ceiling walls facing inward or on two sides. And in some cases, the conference room had windows facing outside, and they used this smart glass technology. So if you had like a confidential meeting, or you're cooking up or presenting a top secret campaign, you wanted to keep that meeting private, you just push a button, and the windows and the interior glass walls would turn opaque and basically immediately turn that conference room into a completely private space. So when I was working there, I had a lot of fun pushing that button over and over again, watching this technology work. It was very, very cool. So yeah, it's a newish kind of innovative use of this technology, but the technology itself is not new. And it's really more about how it's being used. And again, Shigeru Ban here has just come up with this idea of using that in a place that we never would have thought of using it before. So you might ask yourself, well, why? What is the purpose of having a glass public restroom? And actually, the cultural context in Japan is important here, but I think everyone can appreciate this. And that is the idea that if you're in a public restroom, public park, you want to make sure that public restroom is clean, is hygienic. It's not dirty or filthy, and that maybe there's no one lurking in there, that it's safe. And the idea is that if you can see into it beforehand, you can suss out whether you want to actually go use it, if it's clean enough for you or if it's safe enough for you. And that's a really interesting idea because I think all of us have had the experience, perhaps less so in Japan, where things tend to be a lot cleaner than in the West. But like in a place like New York City, or a lot of places, if you go to a beach, I'm in California right now. If you go to a public beach and there's a public restroom, they're not very clean. They're kind of gross, actually. And it's kind of nice to see, that okay, when you walk in, you're not sort of shocked by or grossed out by the condition or state of the restroom. So these glass see-through restrooms provide users with this sense of security, a sense of confidence in that the space they're going to go into is clean and usable and not completely unpleasant. You can thank Shigeru Ban for this, and that's it. I'm out. Have a great day. Bye.